again. I'm Dean Clark, and here we are at Lesson 5 of the New England Fly Tyers Video Manual of Fly Tying. Although there are but 3 new skills introduced in this lesson, they will present a real challenge. The first of these skills looks simple enough, and that's the wool tail. However, the wool yarn must also provide the base along the entire hook shank over which you will wrap a tinsel body. The challenge here is to create a smooth, even underbody. Any irregularities will cause problems when you wind on the flat tinsel body. Even with a perfect underbody, the wrapping of the tinsel will require a precision not yet encountered in the previous lessons. The greatest challenge is the multiple hair wing. You'll be dealing with 3 different colors of hair, one tied on top of the other. Yet the completed wing should contain no more hair than was used in the single colored wing of the 2 previous streamers. Adding to the challenge is a special technique that will keep each layer of hair separate and well-defined. We'll explain more about the multiple wing technique later. For now, let's take a look at the black-nosed dace. The black-nosed dace is not only the name of this fly, it is also the common name of a small minnow that inhabits many of our streams. This fly will be your first attempt at tying a streamer that is designed to imitate a specific species of bait fish that's an important food source for trout. The natural is recognized by a prominent black stripe extending from tail to nose. The majority of fish, fresh or saltwater, are equipped with a type of camouflage called protective coloration. The belly is light-colored, making the fish less visible from below. The back is dark, making it more difficult to see from above. Thus, the color scheme reduces the chances that a fish will become a gourmet meal for a predator fish from below or from a heron or an osprey from above. On your artificial fly, the bright tinsel body with its ribbing and the red tail ensures that your version of the black-nosed dace will not be completely invisible in spite of its imitative protective coloration. And now, Bob Goudreau will tell you about the materials used to create the black-nosed dace.
Well, as in the previous lesson, the hook is a 6XL streamer hook, but we're going to challenge you to tie it on a smaller hook, this time a size 10. The thread will be black. The red wool yarn should be about 3 times thicker than the wire diameter of the hook, so you may have to separate the strands. The body will consist of flat, medium silver tinsel, ribbed with narrow oval tinsel. The 3-part wing will be built up of white, black, and brown bucktail. The white will be on the bottom and the brown on the top. The black will provide the stripe along the median line. Now here's a quick look at the 3 new skills involved.
There's no need to show you how to get the thread started on the hook, so let's go right to the tail and underbody. Fold a piece of 2-strand yarn double and cut it 3-inch piece. Thicker yarn will need to be separated. Place the doubled yarn on top of the hook so the ends of the loop is even with the end of the hook bend. Tie it in at the end of the shank with 3 or 4 turns. The loop should be vertical. Wrap the thread forward over the yarn using the fingers of the left hand to keep the yarn on top of the hook and, as much as possible, with 1 strand of yarn on top of the other. thread to a point about 2 eye lengths back of the eye. Cut the bottom strands of yarn just back of the eye. Cut the top strand close to the thread. Wrap the thread forward to cover all the yarn. This will leave a thinner, tapered section at the front that will eliminate a hump by accommodating the flat tinsel that will be tied in here later. Half hitch and rewrap the thread to the rear tie point. Your goal is to create a smooth, even underbody, so pay particular attention to any lumps or bumps that need to be eliminated. Now, bring the thread forward again to the front. Lacquer the entire shank. The lacquer will be tacky when you wrap the tinsel, and that will make for a more durable fly. Once again, wrap back to the rear tie point, smoothing any remaining bumps to create a smooth foundation for the tinsel body. You will have one more chance to get rid of any irregularities. Lay a 6-inch length of oval silver tinsel along the hook with the end positioned 2 eye lengths back of the eye. This will increase the difference in diameter between the body and the thinner section just back of the eye. Wrap the thread forward no further than the end of the tinsel. Trim one end of an 8-inch piece of mylar tinsel into a long, sharp point. With 2-color mylar, the gold side should be facing you. You'll see why in a moment. Lay the pointed end gold side out against the thinner section back of the eye and tie in with several turns at the middle of the point. With the bodkin, fold the tinsel point back over the tie-in wraps. Wrap the point down securely. With a half twist, fold the tinsel back on itself as you start to wind. Now it will wrap silver side out and also eliminate a lump. Wrap the tinsel back to the rear tie point. Mylar is easier to work with than metallic tinsel. Its thinness allows you to overlap each turn slightly. Overlapping metallic tinsel gives an unsightly shingled effect, and perfect butt joints are required. However, Mylar will conform to any surface, which is why a smooth underbody is important. When all the thread is covered, reverse direction and wrap forward again. Tie off, trim, and half hitch. Apply a coat of lacquer and bring the ribbing forward in evenly spaced spiral wraps. The angle at which the ribbing is held as it is wound determines the spacing of the ribs. Next comes the tricky part. The three-piece wing, as mentioned previously, should contain no more hair than on a single wing. The white bottom layer should contain only 1/4 of the total hair. The black stripes, so characteristic of the black-nosed dace, should also comprise 1/4 of the total wing. The brown top portion should be equal to the white and the black combined. Here's an easy way to judge the proportions. Select a bunch of white bucktail equal to the whole wing, but cut only 1/4 of it. Do the same for the black hair. Once you have these first two bunches of hair tied in, it's easy to judge the amount of brown bucktail that's needed. A word of caution, this method only works if the first bunch of white hair is truly only 1/4 of the total planned wing size. There are some multiple hair wing streamers that call for a blended wing, where the colors blend gradually one into another. That's easy to do. Simply tying one bunch of hair on top of the other will create the blended effect. But this is a black-nosed dace, and the black hair represents the very well-defined stripe of the natural baitfish. You'll learn a special technique to keep the colors separate, not blended. You will see this technique as Bob ties in the wing, but you'll have to follow closely to see how it's done. Let's demonstrate the technique beforehand. The lower finger represents the white hair already tied in the hook. The index finger represents the black hair being held in place, not against the white, but held above the bottom hair. The thread is brought up between the two bunches, over the top and between again, then under progressive tension, once around. What you have is a complete figure 8 plus one complete turn. As the thread is pulled tight, the two turns of thread on top of the hook move in opposite directions, canceling each other's tendency to pull the hair off the top of the hook. The figure 8 wraps keep the two bunches of hair separate. Of course, the thread should be pinched like a loose loop as it is tightened. The same procedure will separate the brown from the black. Now, let's get that wing on. Select a bunch of white hair the size of the finished wing, then cut only 1/4 of the hair close to the skin. Prepare the bucktail as you did in the previous two lessons. Tie it in and trim the butts. After you've prepared the black hair by aligning the tips, hold the hair in front of the thread and above the white hair. Bring the thread around and between the two bunches, once around, and tighten as the fingers hold the hair in place. Select and prepare an amount of brown hair that is equal to the white and black combined. top, between, once around, and pull tight. All that remains is to finish off the head. There are a number of other flies in which the multiple hair wing is called for, the most famous of which is that old attractor pattern, the Mickey fin, with its yellow, red, and yellow wing. Once you've mastered the figure-8 method of building a multiple hair wing, you might want to try a Mickey fin. Same proportion in the use of the hair, gold tinsel and ribbing instead of silver, and no tail. Use the Mickey fin as a desperation fly. It's a great fish finder. Trout will chase it, bump it, or otherwise reveal their presence. Hey, if you're lucky, they'll often try to eat it. Slip them a Mickey, and if they fail to bite, feed them a black-nosed Dace. Watch that figure-8 technique again as Bob ties up a Mickey fin. And after that, Randy Swanberg will demonstrate how to fish a streamer without casting. Then Joe Buccino will show you how you can get into trouble if you leave too much stripped line on the water. You can fish a streamer without even casting. Simply let the current carry the fly downstream. However, there is a right way and a wrong way to do it. If the rod is held high and the line is held below the reel, gravity will work against you. Let the line run downhill instead of up. Even then, friction may overpower the current until enough line is on the water. To get more line on the water, shake the line out of the guides and feed the line from above the reel. This is a great way to cover a stretch of water, not only from near to far, but from one side to the other. Simply move the rod tip to the side. The current will straighten the line, moving the fly across the stream. You can increase the cross-stream reach by switching the rod to the other hand. The total reach from one side to the other will be equal to the span between your outstretched arms plus twice the length of your rod. With a 9-foot rod, you could cover a 30-foot wide stream from bank to bank. After a couple of side-to-side passes, let the fly move downstream by shaking out more line. Keep the rod tip low. If a fish should strike on that slack line, you'll need to instantly eliminate the slack with a quick lift of the rod. This wouldn't be possible if the rod is held high. Here you can clearly see the effect the current has on the line after the rod has been swung from one side to the other. The fly drifts down and across, tracing a zigzag path through the water being fished. You can see that the technique will enable you to pass your fly through every square yard of water within reach, side to side and downstream as far as your line will reach. Farther if you get into the backing. However, a fish at the end of a 90-foot long line can spell trouble. The fish will be in control and can easily get you tangled in brush or other underwater obstructions. Rather than increasing your downstream reach with an exceedingly long line, keep the line at a reasonable length and wade slowly downstream. Don't overlook the tactic of swimming the fly upstream with various retrieves. Notice how the line hand gathers the retrieved line in loops in order to keep the extra line off the water. Dropping the line on the water can create some problems, as Joe Bacino will demonstrate. A back eddy is created downstream of any obstruction, in this case, Joe's legs. The line on the water is caught in the eddy and is carried back through his legs. Some gets pulled up under by the churning water and gets wrapped around the waders, which creates a mess that needs immediate attention. The problem goes away, but another is in the making. Once clear of the eddy, the retrieved line moves on downstream. A possible rendezvous between the line going down and the fly coming back up is now set up. Uh-oh, another complication arises. It appears that Joe has a fish on, obviously not a very big one. Let's watch as the scenario plays itself out. Joe's lucky the fish was one of the little native brookies that inhabit this stretch. Think of what could have happened had it been one of the acrobatic 14-inch rainbows that also live here.